So I'm currently at mile 1873 on the Appalachian Trail. I just hiked in because I wanted to check out the reroute that's going on right now. So the Madison Gulf Bridge back there is closed. It didn't pass inspection, so they're telling hikers they can't go over it. So I just want to go over, show you the bridge, and then go down and show you the official reroute of the Appalachian Trail. Any excuse that I have to get out on the AT, I will take it, even though it is incredibly buggy right now. Let's go. So if you're hiking the Appalachian Trail northbound, you will get to this detour after you hike the Presidentials on your way down, right near the Osgood tent site, right at that trail intersection. So the most convenient thing about this detour is from that intersection, the bridge is only half a mile down the trail. So if you wanted to, you could go check out the situation. If the river doesn't look crossable, you can turn back and do the detour and you're not taking up a whole chunk of your day. That was not the case for some of my detours on my last through hike in the 100-mile wilderness. Some of the rivers that I would have to ford were hours into the trail, so I had to make a decision without seeing the river for myself. So it is pretty convenient. We're going down the trail right now to check it out. So I've been hiking down for almost 20 minutes and I'm coming across to a river crossing right now. So this is a river actually that we have to cross without a bridge. I believe the river with the bridge is just past it, but I think we can easily rock hop over this one. So that one was pretty easy. The rocks were nice and big, they were dry. You did have to step over some rushing water, but not a bad river crossing at all. Let's see what the next one looks like. So I have made it to the Madison Gulf Trail Bridge. It is very obviously closed. There's a piece of wood going across it. There's signs, there's printouts of official orders. The river is definitely gushing a lot. It's very loud right now. And honestly, looking at this bridge, I've crossed it a couple times before and I know it's very bouncy. I'm not gonna stand on it right now, but looking at it, this is not something that I would want to cross if it didn't pass inspection. It's a very nice bridge, but it does look and feel a little sketchy knowing that it didn't pass. Now I know the sign back at the last intersection did say if you want to go this way down on the Appalachian Trail, you can ford the river. So they're not trying to stop anyone, they're just trying to keep everyone safe. But I'm gonna go down and show you the river to see if it's actually fordable. Fordable, is that a word? All right, let's go down. So if I was out through hiking and I had to cross this river, this is what I would do. I didn't come too far down, but I would stand on this rock and jump to that one. It's honestly kind of far, but it doesn't look that scary because I'd be jumping down and the rock that I'm landing on is completely dry. So I would feel confident doing that. And then from here, I would step onto that rock, which would be the sketchiest part. The rock is coming out of the river, but it's wet, so it would be slippery, but trekking poles would be incredibly helpful. Then after landing on that rock, it's pretty easy from there. That's all shallow water, lots of rocks. So that was really cool for me to go and check out that bridge firsthand. I read about the closure, I read about the AT reroute, but it's nice just getting out on trail and seeing it. I'm going to hike back to the Osgood tent site where I was in the beginning of this video and then hike down the detour and show you that. I'm gonna hike down, it's about 2.5 miles to the Great Gulf Trailhead, and then I'll show you where the AT goes from there. I was thinking if I was in the middle of my through hike right now and I got to the Osgood tent site and I had to make that decision if I were to go to the bridge or go and do the reroute, what would I do? So I just spent the 20-minute hike back to the Osgood tent site to kind of make a decision of what I would do in this situation if I got to this point and had to decide to either risk it and go to the bridge or do the AT detour. And I made up my mind. And here's what I would do. I would sit down and I would pull out my Far Out app and see if there has been any comments from people in front of me on the trail making a decision, because maybe that would give me some clarity. Next, I would take my water bottle and my packet of watermelon salt element and I would pour it in. I would take this opportunity to sit down and have a break while I make up my mind. So this was my back 1 hour into my hike, and this is my back right now, 2.5 hours into my hike. I don't know if you can see that sweat. It's in the 80s right now, so it's hot. And I don't know if you know this, but through your sweat, you can actually lose up to 7 grams of sodium. So that's why I use Element, because it has 1,000 milligrams of sodium as well as potassium and magnesium in it. And that's gonna be a science-backed formula to help replace all that sodium that you lose through your sweat. It's just so important to stay hydrated on a hike so you don't have to deal with the muscle cramps, the fatigue, and also staying hydrated can honestly just make you feel better and just have a clearer mind, especially when it comes to like making decisions. You don't want to rush into anything. If you want to pick up some Element for your next hike, if you want to try it out, you can head to drinkelement.com/Nahamsha. When you do that, you'll actually get 8 extra packets of Element thrown in with your order of all of Element's most popular flavors. So I think that's a really great deal. Again, that's drinkelement.com/Nahamsha. Let's see, in the span of that like 1 minute that I was talking about Element, I managed to drink almost 16 ounces of it. So hypothetically, if I was in the middle of my thru hike and I was sitting here making a decision, I'm pretty confident that I would go down and do the AT detour. I most likely would be hiking by myself, so I tend to really play it safe and to not take any risks when I'm by myself. So I don't know if I would want to attempt a river ford when I don't have to. I also am taking into consideration that I am from the area and I have done that section of the Appalachian Trail that you would miss. I've done it a handful of times, so I wouldn't feel like I'm missing out on anything. The only reason why I feel like I would go and do the actual AT is to end up at Pinkham Notch, because the detour doesn't go through Pinkham Notch, so you don't get to see the big visitor center, you don't get the restaurant, the bathrooms, the showers, all that fun stuff. So if I was maybe running low on food, if I was just feeling crappy and I feel like I just needed some extra energy, I might risk it and go through just so I can go through Pinkham Notch. I'm sure a lot of hikers at this point in their through hike, almost done with the White Mountains, 1,800 miles into the trail. If there is an official reroute that would take off some part of the AT, especially if it's potentially dangerous, I do feel like a lot of hikers will do the detour. I do remember on my last through hike in New York, there was a detour just so we didn't have to cross a busy highway, and I took the detour. I know hikers went and crossed the road. I know I probably did it on my first through hike. I probably crossed the busy intersection, but I don't know. I'm just someone who likes to do what they're supposed to do. So if there's a sign saying, hey, AT detour this way, I'm probably gonna take it. And it's just a bonus that it does cut off a really hard section of trail and makes it a little shorter. I do feel like I am a purist. I do like to hike all the miles. I don't want to take any blue blazes or shortcuts if I don't have to, but this is an official reroute. It does count for an official through hike if you're trying to do it by the books. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Definitely let me know in the comments what you would do in this situation. I know what I would do, I'm fairly certain, but I'm just curious what everyone else thinks about this. All right, enough talking about this AT detour. Let's go down and hike the 2.5 miles on it back to the trailhead. So we're hiking down the Osgood Trail to the Great Gulf Trail, and there actually are temporary white blazes going down here. I have actually never been on this trail in the White Mountains. I've hiked a lot of the White Mountains, but never this trail. And it is a very well-maintained trail. The first half mile I'm going down a normal trail, and then it actually turns into a cross-country trail. So as you walk down the cross-country trail, it's actually pretty easy. It's gonna be one of the easier sections of the White Mountains. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Not the text I wanted to get right now as I'm hiking by myself in the middle of the White Mountains. Okay, quick Google search. Not that I think I'm going to see anyone dangerous out on this trail. I actually haven't seen anyone at all on this whole entire hike in the last 3 hours, but it doesn't look like anyone from New Hampshire has been affected by this, so. A little nerve-wracking. I'm just gonna keep hiking back to my car. This is a very well-marked detour. Lots of white blazes, lots of signs. So they really did put in a lot of work to make this easy for the hikers to follow. I think I'm getting close to the Great Gulf Trailhead. I am 6.5 miles into my day, and I just want to report on my knee because I have a torn meniscus. It is actually not hurting me on this hike, and I'm really surprised. I think it's also because all I am paying attention to right now is these massive blisters forming on the back of both of my heels. So I think that pain is kind of overtaking. I'm honestly shocked my knee doesn't hurt right now, and that is making my decision to get knee surgery a little tougher now that I'm hiking and it's fine, but I know it's not fine all the time. Now we are walking over this very large, very safe bridge. So out of the woods at the Great Gulf Trailhead, this is where the reroute would take you, and then you would cross Route 16, walk half a mile down the main road, go to the 19-mile Brook Trailhead, and then hike 3.5 miles with a very gradual incline, about 1,900 feet of elevation gain, but again, very gradual. And then after the 3.5 miles on that trail, you would end up at the Carter Notch Hut, which is back on the AT. Honestly, this parking lot would be so good for trail magic. There's a loop, so I could bring in my camper and not have to worry about backing up or anything. That would be ideal. I just don't know how many thru hikers would actually take the reroute and how many would go and cross that river. But I'll keep this in mind. Stopping my watch at 6.8 miles. Taking off these shoes because these blisters, ow, are painful. I definitely have to get back into wearing my Injinji toe liner socks. And then I have to remember to start bringing Leuko tape with me, because Leuko tape is so good to go over blisters. I got my UFO sandals right now for the drive home. So obviously I'm in my car. I'm ending this hike right now. I'm not doing the, I don't know, 4 extra miles to the Carter Notch Hut and then 4 miles back. But that was really fun to show you the reroute. I know I talked about it when I was kind of giving some news updates in my last video when I was just sitting in my studio, but it's a whole another thing to actually get out on the trail. I kind of felt like a reporter bringing you like live Appalachian Trail news on the scene. So maybe I'll do this more often. It was really fun to get out on the AT and just experiencing that detour was just a good excuse to get me up to the White Mountains. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.